right, our next question is for Brittney. What does a quiet spirit mean in 1 Peter 3:4? I thought I knew, but is that like having a spirit or attitude that doesn't draw attention to oneself?
This is a really good question, and we can't just single it out. I encourage you to just go and take a look at 1 Peter chapter 3, the first 4 verses. So Peter opens up with talking about like the power that a wife has in a relationship. He mentions the fact that if your husband's unsaved, your influence and your example in his life can ultimately win him to the Lord. So he stresses the fact that you have a great role as a wife, and it's not to be underestimated. But he continues to write on about just the role of a woman, period. And he makes a contrast in what should be adorned, and I think it's important to note what that adorn means. Looking just a quick word study, adorn means to enhance or to add beauty to. So it's something that you purposefully add to your life. That is adorning your life. And so, he makes the contrast between an outward adornment and an inward adornment. So he warns us against adorning on the outward. He talks about plaiting of the hair and wearing gold and putting on apparel. Us as holiness women, we take a stand against makeup and excessive adornment on the outside, and this is scripture that supports that. But then he then turns the table and says, but this is what you should be adorning. You should be focusing on the inward, because it lasts forever. So he says, adorn yourself, your spirit, with a meek and a quiet spirit. So what that means is to be humble. That word meek, again, I did another word study there, and it has the idea of keeping one's seat. It's kind of awkward, keeping one's seat and a spirit, how does that really relate? But it has the idea of being undisturbable. So having a spirit that is not easily disturbed by the troubles of life or by the evils of life, or what he said, she said kind of stuff. Having an undisturbable spirit, and I really like the way that that was phrased. So this is a woman who can control her emotions. As women, that's a big thing, emotions. And it's very important to be sanctified, not just on the outward, but on the inward. I think that, being able to control your emotions and your feelings, your words, what comes out of your mouth, is a part of being sanctified. Wesley said it like this. He said, a meek spirit gives no trouble willingly to any. A quiet spirit bears all wrongs without being troubled. They go hand in hand, goes hand in hand. And I think that in that scripture, it's a great question. In that scripture, Peter is definitely making a point that we have to focus on the inward.